Now, is 2018 the year that you plan to get motivated, maybe switch jobs? Maybe you're about to start applying for positions, but you haven't had to write a resume in donkey's years. Now, I know that I fall into this category. Resumes are complicated. They're daunting. If you try and Google it, you'll find endless pages of advice on what to put in them exactly. And in the end, some people may even pay experts to write their resume for them because it can all be just too overwhelming. Now, to get a better idea of what to include and, more importantly, what to avoid in a resume, we're joined by HR specialist from Forensic HR, Dale Kennett. Hi, Dale.
Hey, Jane. How you going?
I'm good, but I haven't got a resume.
Nor do I.
You haven't either? Oh, wow. Do you think it's sort of generational a little bit?
No. It's just that I've been doing my job for the last 17 years, so I haven't needed to create myself a resume.
Okay, so I suppose that I fall into that category too. So firstly, is there a difference between a resume and a CV?
No.
There's not. So they're just the same, they're the same term for the same thing?
Yes.
CV is curriculum vitae, is that right?
Vitae, yes.
Vitae. So which is the more recognised resume would be more recognised, wouldn't it?
It depends on your age, where you're from, the cultural background that you come from. Really depends on where that comes from. If you go back, if you're more coming from a more Latin basis or French basis, where you'll get the curriculum vitae. But then if you start referring to a more slang term, generalised term is where the resume comes into play.
Yeah, so I always called my my list of sort of acting credits that my agent has my CV. So,
yep.
But I couldn't call it a resume because it doesn't really have sort of, I don't know, references and information. I haven't written a blurb about everything I've done. I feel like resumes sounds more sort of comprehensive.
No.
No,
it's
okay.
Not. You don't to put a reference in there doesn't or have it doesn't make a resume to say. And realistically, these days, a lot of people just sort of have reference available on request.
Right, I see. So why is resume creation so confusing?
Because we're talking about ourselves, and it's the biggest thing that we don't want to do. We always think that it's a big sales item, which it is. It is a big advertisement for yourself. And we just don't know what to put into it. It's so hard to create something because realistically, you're trying to write something whereby when the hirer or the employer reads your resume, you're trying to depict their mood at the time that they read your resume to make them go, yep, that's the person I want to interview.
Well, that's almost impossible, isn't it?
It is. And that's why I sit by and stand by the fact that you never get somebody to pay to create a resume for you. It's just a waste of money.
Why do you feel that?
Well, it comes down to a resume writer can't depict the mood of the hirer at the time that they're writing your resume. The person who's writing your resume doesn't know you as well as you know yourself. So how can you pay somebody to write a resume for you, about you, when they don't know about you?
Australians in general aren't terrifically able to talk about ourselves and rate ourselves in lots of ways. That's kind of maybe why people have a lot of trouble with it, writing a resume. But why is there so much conflicting advice out there?
Because we all, because we get a job based on a resume written a particular way and you go, I've got this job, this is the resume that works. Mm-hmm. If you look at Australia's biggest job billboard, Seek,
yes,
if you Google their resume on their website, they don't have one.
Right.
They have advice where they'll sort of say, don't do a cover page, write a cover letter, to make the writing simple. There's a whole lot of advice that they give, but they actually don't show you a final version of a resume.
Oh, that'd be a big help, wouldn't it?
Well, it comes down to, once again, a resume is different for different people. When you're young, just getting out of school, your resume is different to when you're 45 and you've decided, I need to change my life, I need to change my career, or the fact that you've been made redundant and you've had to change your career. There are, it changes, it evolves, and so does the resume that needs to evolve. And that's why it's always best to have a resume written in a third-person concept.
Right.
Take yourself out of it. Pretend that somebody is talking about you.
Yes, look at yourself from the outside.
Yeah, have that person talk about you. And if you actually look at, like, when I'm interviewing, I'll interview and I'll have two questions. I'll go, describe yourself to me. And the very next question I'll ask is, how would your colleagues describe you?
Aha, yes, two very different things, I'd imagine.
It is, because it comes down to when you sort of describe yourself, a lot of people tell me, I'm honest, reliable, loyal, trustworthy. But the minute that the colleagues are describing them, they're just going to say, a hard worker, committed to the work, and immediately you hear the change in the words going from one word, honest, reliable, to hard worker, this, that. There's a bravado in the way that it sounds as well. And so by putting yourself into that third person sort of can give you that bravado to make you go, you know what? Yeah, that makes me sound better.
Okay, so what information should you definitely include in your resume?
You need to find the key words off of the role that you've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
What would make somebody good as that person? So it's a hard one to try and pick out. But then when you've picked that key word, don't just write 2 or 3 words on the line in one bullet point.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the whole width of the page to work with.
Yes.
Use that entire line. Don't give me white space. Tell me, sort of show me your career progression that you've got. Going to the mail, yep, that is simple and everything like that. But try and find ways to dress it up more.
Sure. So expand on just plain bullet points.
Exactly. And if it sounds boring, don't put it in there. Because
Sure.
if it sounds boring to you, it's going to sound boring to the person that's hiring you or reading your resume.
That stands to reason. Well, look,
Yep.
do you include, very basic things like your date of birth? What sort of personal details should you put in?
Look, once again, it's depending on the person that's hiring. I personally believe that you can put your age in there, your date of birth. For me, when I'm hiring, I want to see your entire career progression. Obviously, in the jobs that somebody had 30 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I don't need a lot about it, but I want to know what is it that you started off doing in your career, because when I'm hiring you for the next role, I want to see what other skill sets other than what I'm looking at the moment you can bring to that role. And
Sure.
so I like hiring older people.
Uh-huh.
I think they've got so much more to offer. The younger generation, which are the entitled generation, they let you down so often. They ask too many questions. They go, how much is this paying? What do I have to do?
Oh.
That's not in my job description and everything like that. But when you, as an older person, sit back and look at who are the people whose careers have progressed, and it's like they're the ones that have been always doing things. They don't ask the questions about, so to say, that's not in my job description. They're the ones that have just gotten in and done it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're the ones that have been head down and bum up. When I interview people and I ask them, why did you change this job? safety of the organisation wasn't good enough. Why did you leave that job? Oh, I had it. There was a supervisor there that just did things wrong and everything like that.
Yes, okay. So the younger people tend to jump around a lot more, and you get your money's worth with an older
Yes,
employee.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Is there a way that you can guard against that sort of ageism that some people really do? No.
No. Because if I don't want a particular age, I'll be asking questions. What have you been doing? When older people give me a resume that's only covers the last 3 jobs, which could be 9 years worth of employment,
Yes.
it doesn't read right in their resume, because you sort of look at the first job that they've got and it was like a manager. It's like, well, nobody's ever start in the top dog role.
No, what came before?
Exactly.
Okay.
And then if you've got a person who is young, who is, say, 21, and their second job that they've got is that they was a manager of somewhere, it's like, well, that's a load of hogwash.
Because you couldn't have got there.
Exactly. Salespeople make the biggest flaws in resumes all the time, in the sense whereby they embellish and they sort of say they increase sales by 45% in the first 3 to 6 months of that job. Well, if you did that, you would still be hired in that company. You would not be allowed to leave that company. And so when I sit there and I read it, it's like you can tell where the embellishments come through.
Oh, so you can't gild the lily. You've got to just keep everything factual, because the minute you're caught out in an exaggeration like that, surely you're not going to be hired.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so pop references in, good idea?
No.
No
Just
references.
No references.
Okay.
Because this is about you. This is about who you are and what you can do.
Yes, indeed. There are a lot of mistakes that people can make, though, Dale, and I hope we've sorted some out for our listeners. Dale Kennett, who is an HR specialist from Forensic HR. For more information, if you need more, go to forensichr.com.au. Thank you so much for your time, Dale.
Not a problem, Jane. Thanks for your time.
It was lovely. Have you had issues with your resume? You can always call us 13 12 83. We'll be back in a moment with more Talking Lifestyle.
From high net worth investors to mum and dad traders, everyone would rather pay less fees. Self-Wealth is Australia's only fixed fee brokerage solution, saving you up to 70% on brokerage fees. Pay just $9.50 per trade regardless of trade size, and count your earnings, not your costs. Self-Wealth has been awarded cheapest online broker by Money Magazine. Compare brokerage fees now and sign up for free. Visit selfwealth.com.au and click Online Trading.